Blogs can be a very important mix in the online marketing presence for a local business. This website that we're looking at is one of the local websites that I use, that I promote. And their blog is very similar to, I'm sure, every blog that you've ever seen. It has a title posted on a certain date, and then the content of the blog, and usually a picture and some various different things. Now, there's some things that you want to make sure that you have in your blog, and let's first of all discuss when and if you should use a blog. First of all, you can definitely use a blog to help promote your business. So if there's a question of if or why, we can eliminate that now because blogs have been proven to help businesses if you follow certain rules. And one of the rules is probably the most important is you have to post regularly. You can't just make a single post on your blog and then not come back to it for a month. This is very similar to what we do with social media. You need to be regular. Now, you don't have to be doing it every single day because that would take up an awful lot of time. But you should write a blog post at least once a week. Now, this is something that you can do in evenings or weekends and just write a short post. They don't need to be very long. 600 words or so will be sufficient. Hopefully you are using a content management system like we discussed in the lecture on web presence. If you are, then setting up a blog is very, very simple. So if you're using WordPress, then WordPress is a blog, so you already have one definitely. If you're using Joomla, which we're seeing here, you can install a plugin to get blog-like capabilities. In this case, I've installed a plugin called EasyBlog, which works great for me. There are other plugins that work as well, and Drupal has similar extensions for blogging. One thing that you want to make sure that you do have with your blog is a way for people to share the blog. So you want to have ways for people to like it on Facebook, to tweet about it, to Google Plus it, to dig it, share it on LinkedIn, and so forth. You may have other favorites that you use. Just make it easy for people to share it, because the whole idea of a blog is to spread the word about what's going on in your local community or in your business. Now, what should you write about in your blog? It can be anything, but again, you want to always make sure that you are talking about your core story, at least in some way. Now, the blog can be kind of a what's happening in the community, what's happening in the industry, or what's happening with your specific business. And people are going to read it because it's interesting, so you have to write it in a way that makes it interesting. One of the ways to do that is to make sure that you always include an image with it. Now, if you don't know how to do this, it's a good idea to learn. It doesn't take a great deal of skill, and we're going to look at this particular blog entry just to have a quick look at how it looks in Joomla. On WordPress, it's very, very straightforward and looks very similar. So I'm going to go into the back end, which is when you log into your content management system, and now you're going into the management part of it to control the content. So I've actually already logged into Joomla in this case, and now I'm going to go to that component that I just told you about, EasyBlog. And in this particular case, I want to go to the blog entries. Now, this is a fairly newish website, so there's only one blog entry here right now. So I'm going to go right into it. And again, the WordPress and Drupal counterparts will look very similar, but not exactly the same. They're definitely going to have a title. They're going to have something called a permalink. Now, a permalink is what happens when you actually go to the blog. So if we take a look at this, it says Oshawa Center under attack. Now I'm going to go back to the actual blog post, and if I click on that blog entry, there's that permalink, Oshawa Center under attack. So the permalink is the text that goes at the end of the URL, which is the internet address, and is a kind of a permanent way for people to reference that blog entry. In most cases, it'll just automatically be generated based off of your title, which is what happened in this case. It just replaces the spaces with dashes. Then following it, we have the actual content of the blog. So there's text, there's an image, and adding an image in Joomla is as simple as putting your cursor where you want the image to go. In this case, the image is actually right at the very beginning and is aligned to the right. So I put my cursor at the beginning, click on Insert Media, and then I could upload an image from my computer. And I can click on the image and then go into its properties and see how it's right aligned. And if I scroll a little below, there's nothing here in Joomla. However, WordPress probably has a little bit more below. If it doesn't, you want to make sure in WordPress that you have a plugin called the All-in-One SEO Helper. The All-in-One SEO Helper will help make sure that your blog is reaching the largest potential audience that it can. On Joomla, we don't have such a plugin, but there's other ways to do it. So in Joomla, we categorize it into a specific category. If there are no categories, then you can create your own category. You can choose a date that it's going to be published on, but in most cases, you're just going to publish it immediately. Now, in Joomla, we're working with something called tags and metadata. So if I go to the tags section, there are a bunch of tags that I can write about this. So in this case, the tags are Oshawa Center and renovation. And center spelled the English and the Canadian way and the US way. Tags are ways for people to refer to it. So if people are doing a search online for Oshawa Center, then this blog article may show up because it's been tagged that way. So you want to think about what ways would people be searching for the content of this blog so that they can find it. Similarly with the metadata, you're going to put a short description of the article. So this is short, I would say about 120 characters long or 140 characters, not too long. And then meta keywords. So these keywords can match the tags that you've used, but in WordPress, for example, they're definitely called keywords. And these again are what people would be searching for to make your blog article come up. Now keep in mind, the whole purpose of having a blog is so that you can promote your business. That's really the reason that you're doing it. Now, from a consumer point of view, from a public point of view, you have a blog so that you can tell them about what's going on in the community or the industry or your business. But really, it's to drive more traffic. So every time you write a blog, you have to do it with a purpose in mind. Always ask yourself the question, why am I writing this particular blog? And the answer shouldn't be because Eric told me to do it on the internet marketing course. You should be doing it for the reason of getting people to visit your site and hopefully get interested in your core story and become paying customers. So think always about what would people be looking for? What would people search for? Maybe in the case of our pest control, it's going to be ants or cockroaches or safe chemicals for spraying or there's hundreds and hundreds of different ideas that you could think of. And perhaps each will be a separate blog entry, and that's fine. You just want to make sure that you're always thinking from the consumer's point of view. So you want to make sure that you have keywords that people would be looking for, and these keywords should be used in the content of the article. That's just an SEO tip, and we'll get into that a little bit more in the specific lecture about SEO. And really, for this particular blog entry, that would be it. I would click Save, and that's going to save it, and now it'll show up in my list. Now, if I were to create a new entry, I would just click New here, and then I could start from scratch and write new entries. And they'll automatically just show up here under the blog. Now, again, you want to be consistent with this. And when you create a new blog entry, again, what you're going to do is you're going to go to the actual blog entry so that you see that permalink. You're going to copy this, and then you're going to paste it into your social media, your emails, and so forth. This can be a way, instead of doing the old style newsletter that people used to sign up for, now what you do is you write a blog post and then you email a link to the blog post and maybe a short summary of it as a teaser to get people to come and have a look. But remember, your blog post always should be done for a reason and on purpose. Use that core story, use your unique selling proposition, You have a pool now, a dictionary of resources that you can use whenever you're writing and communicating, and this is a great way to get the word out to your local clientele and potential clientele about what you're doing. Also, at the very bottom of the blog, you're going to have a commenting view, a way for people to be able to make comments and kind of engage with you. You'll want to make sure that your blog is set up so that you are receiving notifications when that happens. Now, all blogs automatically are set up for that, so there's no real special thing that you need to do. But when you get comments, make sure that you respond to them. Okay, people want to be engaging with you. They want to know that their voice matters. And again, you want to love your customers. The best way to do that is to engage with them in conversation. Every once in a while, you may get some negative comments. And we'll talk more about how to deal with negative comments when we get to the section on social media. But just as a quick pointer, when you get negative comments, don't try to erase them. Don't try to bury them. You want to address them, because that just sends a clear message to your customers that you care and that you're willing to work through issues that they might be having. All right. So in conclusion, blogs are a super way to help boost your online presence, a great way to, again, establish you as an effort, help you to do some of that education marketing and reach out to the 97% who are not quite ready to buy yet, but you want to keep yourself and your business top of mind in their mentality so that when they do get ready, then you're the one to go with.